Well, hello, fam. This is your girl Janelle here for another episode of Talk to Me Tuesday. I am so excited that you guys are here with me and rocking and rolling each and every week as we come on board to really talk about topics that help to empower you in the relationship you have with yourself, with others, as well as in your business. It is my pleasure to serve you each and every week. And I am so excited for who we have the opportunity to engage in a conversation tonight. So if you are excited, I am telling you, this is the place where you want to be. So for those of you who are joining, fam, I want to go ahead and make sure that we started right at 6 o'clock tonight, right? Because I want to get all of these goodies and nuggets in today. So fam, if you are here, go ahead and put fam into the comments so we can go ahead and recognize that you are here jamming with us. If you are the first time that you are able to be in the house with the family, know that we are super excited to have you here as well. So we are going ahead and welcoming you to the party. If it is your first time, go ahead and put first time. So those of us who have been jamming out can go ahead and recognize you. Roxanne, I see you in the house. So happy to have you here joining us. But we recognize, like we say each and every week, that not everybody's able to join us as we go live. So if you are catching us for the replay, we want to go ahead and type replay love into the comments as well, so we can go ahead and recognize that you are here jamming with us. So I want to invite you to really invite someone to the conversation who is my friend. Marcus, I see you out here. So happy you're able to join us to really have a conversation with a minister, with someone who is married and someone who will tell you, who's honest with you, to talk to you about how the journey of this life is. So oftentimes we feel like we are the only person experiencing some of our experiences. And I want tonight to make sure that if you have questions, our guest has agreed to go ahead and have you guys drop any questions you have as we begin to engage in this conversation in the comments, so we can go ahead and have them covered. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend for many years, the one and the only, I call him Floyd, Narcisse. So we're going to go ahead and invite him to the set. So if you could just come on and introduce yourself, let the fam know you're here. We can't hear you, and we want to.
Good evening. My name is the Reverend Floyd Narcisse. I'm the pastor of historic New Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church in the city of Ormond Beach, Florida. And I am happy to be here with my sister, my big sister, who I love so very much, Dr. Janelle, and give homage to her husband, Charles.
Chuck. Yes.
Chuck.
We go all the way back, right? So
yes, ma'am, we do.
I am so thankful that you are here. And I'm also thankful that Cookie, who is in this behind the scenes, your beautiful bride.
My lovely wife, Cookie, is here with us as well. Yes.
Who is allowing us to just take a moment of your time tonight to really make sure that we're helping to empower people. So again, while we see you here, we know that Cookie is behind the scenes, supporting you to make these opportunities happen. So we first met because I knew your father, who I would say was a legend in Rhode Island. You know, if you knew your dad, you loved your dad, right? And I met him when I taught, and I just saw how much he cared about every single person. He made every person feel like they were his daughter, his son. And, you know, part of that was because, you know, we called him Coach. But unfortunately, when we lost him, you know, it was such a great loss to all of us who knew him, but it was huge for you. Can you just share with us some of the experiences that you had from losing such a profound person in your life?
Well, let me tell you this. When my father passed, it definitely changed my life. It definitely changed my life for the good and for the bad. It made me grow up faster. But to go back, I didn't realize how blessed my father, to have a father, until I went to college. Me and my father used to bump heads every day. I used to think, Dad, how come you didn't want me to go to John Hope all the time with you? And he was just protecting me. I was thinking whatever, but realized that he was just preparing me for a better life and letting me understand that, listen, it's okay, because every day growing up in Seacock, I was getting called the N-word every single day. Like, I was fighting with the white folks and fighting with the black folks at the same time. But to go back with the same with my father, he taught me how to be a man. He taught me how to respect women. He taught me how that you can't do nothing without prayer. He took us to church. One thing I loved about it is that I tell the story to my church that the church saved my life. The Black church literally saved my life, because the family atmosphere, the love of God. He told you that you gotta love God. And it's one thing I really loved about my father, that he taught us the basis of the church, of how to pray and how to love. And I tell him, I thank God for my mother, because I look at this pandemic. When I was young, people may not know, my father lost his job for 2 years. And remind you all know, living in Seacock is not, it ain't cheap. But because my father saved money, he prayed, and I look at marriages, is that my mother stayed. She didn't go nowhere. She didn't look for no one else. She didn't call him a no good, you know what? She stayed. And I look at the marriages and the relationships now in society. Do you really love are you truly in love, or are you just loving someone because they got money? Because as soon, pandemic is a wonderful example. People lost jobs nationwide. Marriages, but were you there for that person because he had a 6-figure job, or was you there because you really loved him? And I look at, and I thank God for my wife, because she saved me too. Those who may know me personally know that I was wild. I didn't care about nothing, especially when my daddy died. When my daddy died, I was like, listen, you took and I'm in the church. Let's just talk about that. Disclaimer, I'm pastoring at the time when my daddy died. And when my father passed, I was like, you know what? The heck with the church, the heck with everything. But I thank God that I had to realize that, eventually, you got to get back. You gotta be, if I can be half the man my father was, I'll be all right.
Powerful, powerful. And you just dropped so many nuggets there, because, you talk about marriage in a way where it's so important to marry somebody genuinely. And
Right.
I hold that up, because so often in relationships, my husband and I, we joked around, and we were visiting my mom, and she's like, you two are just so loving. Like, you're about to celebrate 10 years of marriage, and you guys come into a room and you're like, hey boo, and you dance for no reason when nobody else can hear any music. And it holds up for me. How can you make sure that you are marrying someone who loves you unconditionally? And like you say, your mom stayed, understanding that in all relationships, every single relationship that is worth being committed to is going to have ebbs and flows. So how do you make sure that no matter what is coming up, the good, the bad, and indifferent, you're viewing them in a way that you're learning, you're growing, you're moving forward? And I appreciate your honesty, because again, so often people have the tendency to see someone in a position like you as a minister and assume they haven't had trauma, assume that they haven't made some mistakes along the way. And it's so honest, because we are all human and we all experience loss, we all experience trauma, and it triggers different things in how we respond. But it's so important to be able to stop and reflect on, oh, look how far I've come with God. So I appreciate your honesty, and I will say to you, during that period of pain and hurt, when you were making not the most ideal situations, what were some of the greatest lessons you learned as a man?
That tomorrow's not guaranteed. Realize that you really, I didn't realize how powerful, I didn't realize how powerful an impact my father made on so many people. So when he died, it's like my family, everyone expected me to carry that mantle, which I wanted to, which I really, God knows I wanted to. But it made me realize that, you know what? You have another chance to get it right. So I realized when my father passed, and even in life's journey, during this pandemic, I'm thankful that I'm alive. But the most important part is that every chance I wake up, I got a chance to get it right. So my goal every morning is if I wake up, if the Lord spares me another breath, Lord, help me to get it right. Help me to be a blessing, not just to my wife, but to my community. Help me to speak Black Lives Matter. Help me to preach the true gospel, the true liberation gospel, the James Cone gospel, the Black theology. Help me to be able to speak truth to power in spite of my faults, in spite of me having 2 children before I was married and a pastor. Help me to be that man to know that in spite of everything, the Lord still sees fit that I still can make it. And if I can make it, someone else can make it. And I strive that every day. My father taught me, he realized that, we're not gonna have everything. But I realized that I'm thankful just to have a roof over my head and food to eat.
So powerful, because, this, I had the opportunity with leaning on the Lord, right? Because continuously learning and growing, where I was able to share just this week for Women's Empowerment Month, some journals about really how to start your day with affirmation, starting your day, recognizing that, like you said, when you wake up and you have that breath, there is purpose for you to achieve. And the other journal I created was about gratitude, because the pandemic has definitely heightened our loss. And in the past 2 weeks, members of, you are my frat brother, plus my brother in Christ, but we've experienced some really just heart-wrenching loss within our local chapter. And I just think about how precious life is. I received a message today from one of my sorority sisters who, in all we've experienced in the past 2 weeks, was like, I just want to tell you that I love you. And just thinking about how in life we take things sometimes for granted. We take our loved ones for granted. We sometimes take ourselves for granted and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, never realizing that tomorrow isn't promised to anyone.
That's
so
right.
How can we really be intentional? How can we really make sure that every day, no matter what we experience, at the end of the day, we are having gratitude that we experience the day?
But can I say something?
Sure.
We have to be true to ourselves. And I'm only doing this for you because I don't talk like this, but you got to be true to myself. I was lost. Maybe I was lost before my daddy died, but I didn't recognize until a lot of things until I've been really true to myself, looked at myself in the mirror and said, look, who do you really want to be? Your dad, that's your father's legacy. Now, what's your legacy going to be? Your legacy can't be a no good preacher and sleep with all these women. That can't be your legacy. That's not the legacy your father wanted. Because I was headed that way. But thank God that I came to Florida and changed everything. Because I realized that, I don't want that legacy for myself. And I thank God that I said my wife changed my life, because when I met my wife, I was down and out. I was out the church. I wasn't going to church. I wasn't doing none of that because I was mad. I was hurt. But she loved me for the inside of me. When I ain't have all the money I had before. She only known me for 5 years. We've been married for 2. She don't know the fact how I used to live in Seacon. She don't know the fact she met me here. So I realized that I thank God that God is not through with me yet. And God is not through with whoever's listening to us yet. We all have a past, but we have to be true to our past and be true to ourselves. If you really, I ain't getting married till I was 40-something. Because my father always, listen, young man, one thing, listen, don't get married unless you're ready. And thank God I was ready. Now, listen now, it's not easy being married. But you have to make sure that you love yourself and love your spouse and do whatever it is that your spouse wants you to do. A happy wife is a good life. I believe that. So when she texts me some about honey-do list, as much as I don't want to do half the stuff on that list and tell the devil to go somewhere, I realize this is only gonna help, this is only gonna make things better.
You know, I one of the things that you just said that was such a powerful nugget was she loves me for the inside. And you know, you're able to show up and to be self-sacrificing when you know that you have someone who loves you unconditionally, good, bad, and indifferent. You know, and one of the things that we've definitely talked about on Talk to Me Tuesday in the past is about having that deep love, because as a man, we do know that a man is, and you know, the comments could go crazy at this point, but a man is supposed to be the head of the household, you know, and I always hold up, but a woman is the neck. So as we hold that up, I say to people, you know, if you got a head and it doesn't have a neck, it's in a bad place, right? Because the neck really guides where it's going. But you know, I say that because it's about partnership and understanding that partnership is not about a 50-50 commitment. And it's really about some days I am going to be able to offer our marriage 80% and Charles is going to be able to offer 20%. And there's going to be days where he is offering 90 and I only have 10. But it doesn't matter because we are 100% there for each other.
Because when y'all made that commitment, y'all became one.
Yes.
And people get it mixed up that sometimes, oh, he's the, no. Some days she gonna be my backbone. It fluctuates from time to time.
You know, and the other part I hold up, because you know, the great thing about this group is we open up this group to everyone who's on the relationship journey, right? Because for me, it's also about the relationship that people have with themselves. And one of the things that really stood out for me is you talked about really starting over. Moving to Florida and getting to a place where you had to almost come to Jesus to be like, okay, how am I going to get better? How do I improve? So talk to me about that.
Let me tell you a real story. And no one knows the real story until now. I lost everything. I was helping out at a church in South Georgia. School teacher in South Georgia. Got into a car accident. Insurance didn't cover it, lost my car. Lost the church in South Georgia, lost the house, lost everything. Literally lost everything. All I had to do was come to Florida. So it was a gut check. Like, okay, now, this is not what God had for you. It's sad that it had to get that bad. But I'm thankful because I know that the best is still yet to come. So in the midst of my hardness of losing everything, losing the job, losing the church, losing everything, the love of my life, losing, going, I'm upset. And I'm like, wow. If my dad, and I blame me, I said, God, if my dad was here, all we have to do is call him. He'll make a phone call and we good. And I got to realize I can't rely on that. I'm my own person. I got to make my own connect. I got to be what God called me to be. So when I came to Florida, I prayed, I fasted, and I got real with myself. Because I had to. So it was like, it was a rehab. It wasn't rehab because I was not on no type of stuff, but it was rehab to clean things out, to really see what is it that you really want to do. And now since I'm in Florida, listen, sky's the limit. I'm not going up north. I got palm trees in my backyard.
We out here showing out just because we got windy conditions out here.
Right, but but I would say Florida is not for everybody. It's slow paced, but back to the subject at hand. The Lord's been kind. I have to just turn everything over and be honest. Listen, you're not who you think you are. You're not better than who you think you still. And once we find out who we really are, that's the main thing. And how I found my wife, I use the 3 Ps method. I want a pretty woman, she's pretty. I want a praying woman, she can pray. And I want a woman who can play. Because sometimes You need to know the difference. When it's time to pray, it's time to pray. But when it's time to play, let's get it.
You know, that's powerful. You know, I see the love that we're getting out here, and I thank you guys for the love. You know, we do want to make sure that if there's any questions that you guys have, go ahead and drop them into the comments so we can make sure that if there's something you want us to discuss, we are here for that as well. You know, I love what you say about identifying what you're looking for when you were really moving towards not just finding your wife, but committing to your wife and understanding where you were. And really, I don't fault you because you want to be attracted to the person if you're going to spend the rest of your life with them. So I hear you. And really about that praying, because it is during those moments that the trials come, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I'm, in one of the programs I have about removing roadblocks, I really have people understand, how do we begin to move roadblocks? And instead of having them block our vision, really move to have those roadblocks become things for us to step on. So we continuously level up and move to the next place, not repeating past behaviors because we haven't learned from them. So really having you talk about how you are reflecting on being able to move forward, really recognizing how you leverage that experience in Georgia, right? I think about, I'm looking at those who are out here in the comments, April, lovely to see you. Nicole, love you, cousin. Glad you're out here, and really thinking about how do we continue to, Shanique, I see her out here. How do we all continue to recognize that every moment we have, we recognize the purpose of it. Every moment we have, we're thinking about, how am I strengthening this relationship? Again, and I push people to, it's not for the relationship you exclusively have with other people. What's the relationship you have with yourself? How are you holding up your mindset? How are you holding up how you view yourself so other people view you in your brilliance? And I thank you for sharing that, because again, like you said, people didn't know your story. And it's so easy for us to hide our story and not share those things. But it's important sometimes for us to share that message, so those people who are listening, those people who are going to catch us in the replay, those people who can share this story with others can help someone else out. So really thinking about how we leverage what we've learned so other people don't have to go through that same experience.
And the main thing is, once you love yourself, when I was dating, I would ask the question, what makes you happy? Because, and they would say, oh, my children make me happy, or something. The main thing is, if you don't, number one, love yourself and know what makes you happy, how you expect someone else to make you happy if you don't even know what makes yourself happy?
Preach. You out here starting sermons, okay?
No, but just think about it though. We out here looking for happiness, but you don't even know what makes you happy. So how you expect a man to make you happy? You can't even make yourself happy.
Listen, I got to jump in, right? Because one of the things you got me sitting up in my chair, right? Because one of the programs that I have is about learning to love yourself. Because like you say, I really encourage people who I see go from one relationship to another failed relationship to another failed relationship to say, what is it about you that you don't want to be with you? What is it that you feel that somebody else is going to provide you that you can't provide yourself? Okay, listen, Crystal's out here. She like, hey, Floyd, right? I see you out there. So Marcus asked this question about, being the head of the household. What advice would you have for leading your family from a spiritual perspective? So talk to us about, now that you are married and the head of the household, what advice would you have for another brother? Marcus, I'm so happy to see him.
Pray with your spouse before she go to work. Like one thing I do with my church, we pray every morning at 8 o'clock on the conference call. You gotta pray. You gotta cover her. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, we oversleep, so I may call her on the phone, but we pray. You gotta pray. Prayer is, and people may keep on saying, oh, you set it up, but that's really important. Like, you gotta be covered. Continue to pray and take some time and do Bible study, or even just Bible discovery hour. Just take some time and just take some you and your spouse time. That's the more thing. When it comes to spiritual thing, one thing I can say about my family, you don't see this often. At 6 o'clock, it was all at the table. If it was eating dinner, it was family time. We sat at the table, read the scripture, talk about whatever, read the newspaper. But the main thing is spend some time with your family and pray. Have a little devotion. Now, I'm not saying that you need to speak in tongues for a whole hour. I'm not saying all that. You don't got to do all that. 10, 15 minutes is spiritual time. Devotion. Read the scripture, sing a song, talk about it. There it is. And set goals. One thing I missed that we don't set goals anymore. Another thing I think what lost me is that after I got to my master's and got to the good job I wanted, I ain't have any more goals. We need to continue, even no matter how old you are, even if you're married 40 years, 50 years, continue to set goals. So this year, it's been 2 years, me and my wife been married. We're going to go somewhere. Set some goals. Set some vacation goals. Because in order to make your relationship continue to grow, you got to spend some time with your love. You got to be able to spend some time. If say mom and dad, you got your mom and dad, listen, send them to your mom and dad's house and make sure you spend some time. Make sure you still do some date night. You got to do that. That's important. And fellas, I don't see, y'all got to have some romance. Romance is a key. Not just on Valentine's Day. My wife will tell you, I'll buy her flowers just because. That's all.
I love it, and I appreciate the question, because one of the things that I also say is men like romance as much as women like romance. As quiet as it sometimes can, right?
No, we don't.
So,
yes, ma'am.
Also sometimes it's about modeling what your expectations are, modeling what exactly is that you hope the other person to do, and also communicating, right? This is the only place that I say that we have to continuously get better about being clear about expectations, right? So I think about exactly what you say about setting those goals. I also hold up that sometimes, as couples are growing in, holding up prayer. Prayer is something that I say it takes some time, right? And I remember going to church and they saying, well, who's going to lead the prayer? And me not being like, oh, me, oh, me, oh, me. And now I've gotten to a place where, when I start meetings, before we jumped on this call, I took a moment to stop and pray. But I want people to understand prayer is really a conversation with God. So as you pray, like we're encouraging you to do with your significant other, pray for yourself as well, where you're talking and you're really engaging in that conversation with God.
Can we step a little further? And the reason why I say I want to who know how to pray, because if you pray, that means you have a relationship with God. Think about it. Prayer warriors have relationships. And that's the one thing that we miss sometimes. And it takes time, but it's like going steady. If you're going steady with God, you're getting to know God, but it's a process.
So true, so true. I definitely, guys, continue to drop those questions if you have it. I do want to get this other question that we have is, would you change any of the experiences that you've had?
Of course, yes. Of course you would, yes.
Yeah, because most people are like, no, it made me who I am. You're like, I would change them.
No, I made a lot of bad decisions. Just to think that if I would have had my life together, I could have stayed in my house in Seacon. My house in Seacon now is worth $500,000. You know what I can do with that house right now?
Listen.
So yes, and even when it comes with relationships, I'm thankful. I may not see eye to eye with my children's mother, but they're all both, at the end of the day, they're all beautiful Black women and Black queens. And I mean, I love my wife, but of course, I mean, I made some pretty bad decisions. And I'm not saying that in that area, but I made some bad decisions, but everything's a blessing at the end of the day. As we look back, well, of course, we all wish we could have done something differently when it comes to life. But you learn from it and try to get better.
I love it. So another question is, a lot of people say you can't make a man be ready for marriage.
You cannot. That's the truth. You cannot.
The woman who gets the man is the one who is there when he is ready. So how do you know when a man is ready for the next step, when a man is ready for marriage?
You just know. Because, I mean, some take longer than others. Like I said, it took me till I was 40. I mean, I had great women along the way. It's just I wasn't ready. And women have to understand is that I know y'all read the Steve Harvey books and things, but you just really have to get to really know that person, that your lover or your partner, and really know and make sure that your partner wants marriage. Because sometimes nowadays people don't want to get married. They just want to stay in a long committed relationship. So you have to know your partner first to make sure that that person is looking for marriage. So when you start dating, you ask that, are they looking for marriage or are they just looking for a fling? And it goes back to being honest. And once they know, you know. Because there's almost so much you can, people, you get older, eventually you get older and you're tired of dipping and diving after a while, I hope. I mean, I was, so.
Right. You're like, I can only share from that experience.
Right.
I agree with you 1000%, but I think one of the key elements is being clear about expectations, and really not assuming if I am sometimes not true to myself by providing you all of the things that I think you would want. Right.
That's right.
And now I assume that if I'm doing all of these things, I am making you feel like I wake up when my breath smells minty fresh and that all of my hair is curled tucked tight before you wake up, right? If I'm making you feel like I like to cook every day and doing laundry is my favorite pastime, and because I believe that is what you want, and then I get you married, and now I'm like, I want to do that, right? Because I hate you. So being true to yourself is so important. Let this person know, what is your expectations? Do you want to be married? And not saying, I don't think that it's a first date kind of conversation, but by date 2 or 3, we need to be clear about where we are. Are we dating to continuously be friends? Or are we dating to get to know each other to determine if there's any longevity in this? And in between that, while I might show you my best, I'm going to show you the rest. Because when we're married, you're going to get the best and the rest at the same time.
But also you want to make sure that what you're doing now, you want to continue doing it when we get married. Because sometimes when I minister to a married couple, they feel like once they get married, they stop doing the stuff they did beforehand. And that's what messes up on both sides. Men are nicer, but when they get it, but so we got to be careful of making sure that we're true to ourselves and make sure that whatever you did to keep them or to get them, y'all, we got to continue to do that. Male and female, both sides. So if you was cooking beforehand, all of a sudden you stop cooking when you're married, something wrong with that. Or if you wasn't cooking, you should be up. Don't get mad when she don't cook. Because you knew that before you got married. It go both ways. Ain't nothing gonna change. It's the same. It's the same, but you gotta be true to yourself and understand that and be okay with that. But it goes back to knowing what you like. You may not like what I like, and that's okay. But everyone has to know what's within themselves, what they like and what they're willing to bring to the table to know to make sure to make a better place.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I thank you all who are coming on and joining us. Go ahead and let us know that you are here in the house. We are going to get ready to close out this conversation.
Really?
I know.
So I was just getting into it. Okay.
Listen, Pastor, I know you ready to go ahead and have a start with a song and then come back, right, for the second version. But for those of you who are joining us, if there is any questions that we haven't been able to answer that you want us to, please make sure you drop them in the comments, because we are going to be closing out this episode of Talk to Me Tuesday within the next few minutes. And we want to make sure before we close out with some of the additional nuggets we want to share, that you guys are also getting the opportunity to really share some questions that you may have as well. So it is nice to see you guys all here. My Nini, I might be saying it wrong, but know that it is in love. I see you're watching with us and we're happy to have you here. As you have talked about having kids from other relationships, I want to find out, what has been some of the greatest growth that you and your wife have experienced by having kids in different relationships? And what is some of the advice you would give people who find themselves in similar situations?
Patience, 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 patience. Everyone is different. Every situation is different, but I thank God that my wife loves my children like they're hers. And it goes to the individual, goes with the individual, making sure that the person wants kids or has no kids or loves kids, and making sure that they know that you're a package deal. So it takes a lot of strength because it takes a lot of strength because of my past, because I did my children's mother so bad back in the day, they still have a little bit of resentment. So when they see me do right by my wife, it's always some type of nut bucking heads. So what I tell people in relationships or how to deal with it, you have to have patience, and you got to know the truth. And the person got to be honest. Like I haven't been this honest before in my life, and people have to be honest. Like, listen, this is what I did, and this is why. So when I have discussions with my children's mother, and they go sideways, and I talk to my wife about it, she'll say, "Well, you should have never said this." And I'm like, "Well, whose side are you on?" But it's the fact that she loves me. Listen, I'm a woman too. So it goes back to having patience. And if you're going to be with someone who has children, understand that it's going to take a lot of prayer, a lot of patience, and make sure that don't take it personal. Another thing, a lot of times relationships, when they're loving their kids extra because they don't have them every day. So because they don't have them every day, it's nothing that they're trying to push you aside or anything. They're trying to, because y'all women, when y'all mad, when y'all upset, there's nothing you can do about it. And I hate them. I dislike R. Kelly, but he got it right. When a woman's fed up, there's nothing you can do about it. I'm still praying, and I know Jesus, but it just takes time. Have an open and be honest with yourself, and know that it's not going to be good all the time. But there's still hope. I'm truly believe there's hope. And once they realize that you're a better person, she a better person, he a better person, things will get better. But I will say it's not easy. It has not been easy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to be easy. No, it's not easy. Because you don't know that person's hurt. And that's the main thing. It's not about the individual. Women hurt different. And it all depends how many times they've been hurt and whatever type of hurt. And so it's that's the big part. Trying to heal the hurt and move forward out of love. That's the frustrating part. But you can make it. You can do it. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but yes.
No, you did, because you said it's about patience and it's about, holding up what's important. And I think as we go ahead and we close this out, it's really about how are you being true to yourself so that you can show up as your best you, your true you, your authentic you, to really ensure that the relationships that you have with yourself, with others, are really going to be about strengthening you and building you up, but supporting you for those moments when we have those highs and lows. So I want to thank you so much for being here with us.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us for another episode of Talk to Me Tuesday. I wish you guys safety. I want you guys to continue to let the people know who are in your life how much they mean to you, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. It is again my pleasure. I look forward to seeing you next week at the exact same time. See you next Tuesday at 6 p.m. for another episode of Talk to Me Tuesday. Take care, everyone.